Did you talk about this missing girl that was found dead in the singer David's car?
He was labeled a predator, judged and convicted by the internet in real time, his entire career collapsing overnight. But now, everything just shifted. The FBI dropped a revelation no one saw coming. Celeste Rivas did not pass due to foul play. She passed from an overdose, a twist that seems to clear David, but it opens up a far more unsettling question. If David wasn't responsible, then why did the world rush so quickly to believe he was?
We now know who the victim is in this case, and there are a lot of twists and turns.
Yes, the victim, as it turns out, is a 15-year-old girl named Celeste Rivas. And Celeste Rivas had gone missing about a year ago.
Here's where everything changed. The FBI, the autopsy, the truth. Cameras snapped nonstop. Microphones crowded the podium. The entire world seemed to lean in at once as the FBI chief finally stepped forward. Weeks of speculation had built to this moment. Headlines had already branded him a predator. Fans had already turned on him. And then the statement dropped, heavy and undeniable. After careful review of the evidence, there are no criminal charges against David Anthony Burke, known professionally as David. At this time, we confirm he is not a suspect, nor has any criminal record linked to this case. The impact was immediate. Social media froze for a split second, as if trying to process what it had just heard. The same platforms that fueled the accusations now scrambled to catch up.
We should say that the police have not named a suspect yet. The police have not named a person of interest yet, but that doesn't mean they don't have one.
Just like that, the narrative began to crack. For weeks, his name had been tied to scandal at every turn. Viral hashtags, old screenshots pulled out of context. Even his unreleased songs were picked apart like evidence. But now, the story looked completely different and far more tragic.
And now we've got video of
them on a live stream where they're interacting with some of his fans. It's a short clip, and so it's hard to make out what they're talking about. But at one point, he does say to the moderators of the chat that we should make sure when this is done, don't leave it up.
Celeste Rivas, the young girl found in his Tesla, had not been harmed by another person. She had overdosed. The autopsy made it clear, and there was no room left for speculation. When the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner released the official findings, it confirmed what many online investigators had ignored. There was no sign of physical violence or intentional harm. Instead, the toxicology report revealed a deadly mix of opioids and depressants in her system, a combination that has become all too common, especially among young people caught in a growing and devastating crisis. And just like that, the story everyone thought they knew began to fall apart.
And a tattoo that he has is very, very interesting.
So we found photos from last September where he has on his pointer finger of his right hand
the same finger as hers.
The same exact finger, the exact same tattoo. It's in black.
The forensic notes added another layer, one that only made the situation more unsettling. While Celeste's remains were discovered in a severely decomposed and partially altered state, investigators made one thing clear: there was no conclusive evidence linking those injuries to David himself. In fact, some experts suggested something even more disturbing. The alterations may have happened after she passed, possibly carried out by someone trying to hide what really took place, not as part of what caused it. This wasn't the outcome the internet had braced for. For millions watching, both supporters and critics, David's fate had already been sealed. In the court of public opinion, he was blamed. No debate needed. But now, the science was telling a completely different story. Not one of a celebrity-driven act of harm, but one rooted in addiction, overdose, and a young life cut tragically short. Even as the FBI stepped in with clarity, the outrage hadn't fully settled. People immediately started asking why it took so long to get answers this definitive. The Bureau pushed back, explaining that the chaos created by viral leaks and nonstop speculation forced them to move carefully. Every claim had to be verified. Every detail had to be tested. They dug through everything. Discord messages that allegedly connected David to Celeste. An unreleased song that many believed sounded like a confession. Even eerie similarities, like tattoos that people online insisted were more than coincidence. It all had to be examined, piece by piece. But when it came down to actual, provable evidence, there was nothing solid tying him to wrongdoing. Yes, the Tesla belonged to him. That much was true. But owning a car didn't make him responsible for what happened inside it. And at the estimated time of Celeste's passing, he wasn't even there. Records showed he was on tour, with digital timestamps backing it up. By the time federal authorities took over, the LAPD was already under intense pressure to name him as a suspect. Meanwhile, online investigators kept digging, analyzing every lyric, every photo, every interview like it held a hidden clue. Still, the FBI's conclusion stood firm. No criminal record, no charges, no official designation as a suspect, just suspicion. And as legal experts have warned time and time again, suspicion alone isn't proof. But even with that, not everyone was ready to let it go. The internet had already locked onto a story, and it wasn't ready to let it go. The narrative was too gripping, too dark, too perfectly constructed to fall apart overnight. Clips kept circulating everywhere. The Tesla being towed away, neighbors speaking in hushed tones about a foul smell, a teacher recalling Celeste's troubled past, hinting at alleged connections to the rising artist.
She met this dude on social media. He was a rapper in LA. He came and got her. She ran away from home. She was gone for like a month. The cops found her in Hollywood, brought her back to our school. She came back to our school, kind of told people this story. She disappeared again in May of that year. And then I found out yesterday that she's now dead in that rapper's car, cut into pieces.
One viral broadcast captured the mood exactly, feeding the speculation instead of questioning it. The image was impossible to shake. A young person, missing for over a year, found lifeless in the trunk of a celebrity's car. That kind of story doesn't just fade, it sticks, it spreads, and it pulls people in. Even as forensic evidence brought clarity, the whispers didn't stop. If anything, they evolved. Allegations of inappropriate behavior and exploitation continued to spiral, fueled by fragments that felt convincing, even when they weren't verified.
Really don't know much else with the LAPD telling NBC News. At this time, the LAPD does not have a crime classification from the coroner as the mode or manner of death, thus we do not have any suspect information. But now, with the case getting a ton of attention online, you have internet detectives using David's music, work, and other information to now try to allege that he's behind this. Though again, as of right now, the LAPD said that there are no current persons of interest, and this hasn't even officially been ruled a homicide yet. But with that said, we're already seeing some fallout with brands like Hollister and Crocs saying that they're removing him from ad campaigns. Also, Kali Uchis said that she's going to be pulling her song with him as well, and he also canceled his concert last night, and he's scheduled to perform in LA soon, so we're gonna have to see if any of that changes.
What made this case so consuming wasn't just the tragedy, it was the eerie web of details that seemed to connect her to him. Then came the details that made everything feel even more unsettling. Celeste's mother revealed that her daughter had a small tattoo on her finger, a simple etched into the skin. Not long after, photos of David surfaced. He had the same design, same finger. To many watching, that wasn't coincidence, it was confirmation. Around that same time, an unreleased track began making its way across the internet. The title alone turned heads. Celeste. The lyrics were intense, talking about obsession, secrecy, even police cars. One line in particular caught fire. "Nobody ever caught me." People didn't hesitate. They treated it like a confession hiding in plain sight. Media outlets amplified it, pushing the interpretation further. Then came the screenshots. Old Discord messages resurfaced, allegedly showing him mentioning Celeste by name and engaging in late-night conversations. In an online environment already on edge about misconduct, those images hit hard. Verified or not, they carried weight. Reports tied the chats back to his server, and just like that, the label stuck. Predator. By the time the autopsy results confirmed an overdose, the damage had already gone far beyond his career. The narrative had taken on a life of its own. The fallout hit fast, and it hit hard. Tour dates were wiped off the calendar. Major brands that once lined up to work with him started backing away without a word. Hollister, Crocs, even close music collaborators all quietly pulled their support. Kali Uchis made it official, announcing she would not release their joint track. And then came a shift that said everything. People stopped calling it the David scandal. Instead, headlines and online discussions began referring to it as the Celeste Hernandez case. Her name took center stage, carrying the weight of the story forward. Across global coverage, that change stuck. In some ways, it ensured she wouldn't be reduced to just a footnote in someone else's rise or fall. But for David, the damage was already irreversible. Cleared or not, his name was now permanently tied to hers. That connection wasn't going anywhere. As the press conference came to an end, the FBI chief left the room with a warning that cut through the noise. This case illustrates why due process exists. Internet trials are not justice. It was direct. It was measured, and for many, it barely registered. Online, the machine kept running. Reddit threads stretched on for pages, compiling alleged victims, breaking down his lyrics like coded messages, even pulling his fashion choices into the narrative. Some users went as far as labeling him a serial predator, completely dismissing the FBI's findings. At that point, the facts almost didn't matter anymore. What held people's attention was the story they had already accepted. A young star, a dead girl, and the implication of something hidden and forbidden beneath it all. The Autopsy told a different version, one grounded in evidence, not speculation. But emotion doesn't always follow logic. Once a story like this takes hold, it's hard to undo. So this story begins in a place most would expect it to end. The FBI cleared David. The autopsy confirmed an overdose. Legally, he was innocent. But the saga didn't stop there. Because even when the justice system lets someone go, the internet rarely does. Now the question hangs heavier than ever. How did this spiral so far, so fast? How did quiet whispers in Discord chats explode into national headlines? How did an unreleased song get twisted into evidence in a virtual courtroom? And why did millions become convinced that a young artist was responsible for something so serious? To understand that, you have to rewind. Back to the first allegations. The leaked screenshots. The surge of viral outrage that turned a family's grief into one of the most sensational scandals of the decade. Because even though the autopsy delivered answers and the FBI cleared his name, just weeks earlier, the image of David looked completely different. Back then, no one was calling him a victim of speculation. No one was talking about a young artist caught in circumstances beyond his control. In the public eye, he had already been cast as the villain, the central figure in a story spreading faster than any track he had ever dropped. It started with a discovery in Los Angeles, shocking on its own. But what followed turned it into something much bigger, a perfect collision of internet culture, celebrity obsession, and a public already conditioned to expect the worst. And at the heart of it all were screenshots. Not just a handful, but a wave of them. Posts flooded X, TikTok, and Reddit within hours of Celeste's identity being confirmed. Accounts began sharing what they claimed were private messages between David and fans. At first glance, many of these conversations didn't raise alarms. They looked ordinary, even harmless. Casual exchanges you might expect between a rising artist and supporters who looked up to him. But in the context of everything unfolding, those messages didn't stay neutral for long. They were reinterpreted, reframed, and pushed into a narrative that was already gaining momentum. And once that narrative took hold, every word, every emoji, every late-night reply started to mean something more. But then the tone shifted, and that's when things took a darker turn. Some of the alleged messages appeared to show him acknowledging sensitive details while continuing conversations in ways people quickly labeled as inappropriate. Others mentioned Celeste by name, creating the impression that she had been circling his world long before anyone realized. What made these leaks hit so hard wasn't just what they showed, it was when they surfaced. The discovery was still fresh, emotions were raw, and suddenly the internet was staring at what looked like proof. These screenshots didn't just support the story, they reshaped it entirely. Now, it wasn't only about a missing person found in his car. The narrative evolved into something far more disturbing, that she may have been involved in an inappropriate relationship with him all along. The idea of grooming started gaining traction. Allegations of exploitation followed close behind. Whispers turned into loud, constant accusations until they drowned out any hesitation or doubt. And the public didn't wait. They didn't pause to verify. For many, the screenshots were enough. They were treated as fact. Then the unreleased track resurfaced, and everything escalated again. The song, titled Celeste, had once been buried in obscure fan spaces. Now it was everywhere. Listeners dissected every line, searching for meaning. The lyrics painted images of secrecy, obsession, and evasion. One line in particular, "Nobody ever caught me," spread like wildfire. Stripped from its musical context, the track was no longer just a song. It became evidence. Media outlets, including the New York Post, amplified its existence, pulling it into the center of the controversy. What had once been an unheard demo was suddenly being treated like a confession hidden in plain sight. In a culture where fans often read lyrics as real-life diaries, the interpretation stuck quickly. People didn't hear art, they heard admission. And then there was the tattoo. Celeste's mother revealed her daughter had a small tattoo on her finger. Simple, but distinctive. When images of David surfaced showing the same design on the same finger, the reaction was immediate. Side-by-side comparisons flooded X within hours. Captions pushed a single message again and again. What more proof do you need? At that point, for many watching, the conclusion felt unavoidable, whether it was grounded in fact or not. A young girl lost her life. Her family was left carrying a kind of grief that doesn't fade. But for much of the public, the focus didn't stay there. It shifted, locked onto the spectacle. Was David responsible? Was he hiding something? Or just a young man pulled into something he couldn't control? The debate spread across every platform, growing louder by the hour. In those early days, though, one side dominated. Blame was treated like fact. Innocence was mocked. Any attempt at nuance got drowned out. Another viral news clip showed just how quickly assumptions hardened into belief. By the time the FBI stepped in and confirmed there would be no charges, by the time the autopsy revealed that Celeste had passed from an overdose, the narrative had already taken root. It had grown, evolved, and spread far beyond the original facts. The discovery of her remains was the spark. Everything that followed turned it into a full-blown inferno.
David's story, once about a rise from bedroom producer to viral star, was rewritten in real time. His music became secondary. The controversy became his identity. And that's where things stand.
A young artist cleared by the law but still judged in the court of public opinion. A family grieving a daughter whose name is now forever tied to controversy, speculation, and tragedy. And an internet that still can't agree on what to believe. His career might recover. New music could come. Time might soften opinions, and some audiences may move on. But something like this leaves marks that don't just disappear. For some, he'll always be the artist whose song referenced dark themes and who later became linked, however indirectly, to a real-life tragedy. For others, his story stands as a warning, a clear example of what happens when conclusions come before evidence in a world where information travels faster than truth. And through all of it, one thing should remain clear. This was always Celeste's story. Her life, her disappearance, her passing. That is the center of everything. But the way it unfolded, with screenshots, leaked songs, matching tattoos, and a celebrity caught in the middle, turned it into something bigger than a single case. It became a cultural flashpoint, a reminder that in the internet era, guilt and innocence aren't shaped by facts alone. They're influenced by trends, by algorithms, by what people choose to believe and share. So even after the FBI's statement, even after the autopsy, even after the facts were laid out, one question still hangs in the air. Will people ever truly believe David is innocent? If you want more breakdowns like this, make sure to like, subscribe, share, and drop your thoughts in the comments. Stay tuned for the next one.